Nearly 3/4 of a century ago, a young man from the Flats neighborhood of Holyoke signed up with the Navy to serve his country in World War II. It was at the height of this war, and Norman DRAPEAU was just 17 years old. He would see battle, survive D-Day, sustain injury, but ultimately he has never regretted his decision to defend his country in its fight for freedom. Recently, DRAPEAU was honored by the government of France for his service. Steve Kiltonick has his story.
Norman DRAPEAU was a U.S. Navy veteran of World War II. 71 years ago, DRAPEAU took part in the defining moment of the war, D-Day. On June 6, 1944, Allied troops landed on the beaches of Normandy, France, and began the liberation of Europe. Norman, who now lives at the Holyoke Soldiers' Home, was born May 1, 1925 in Holyoke. He is the third oldest of 12 children born to Aurora and Alfred DRAPEAU. The oldest boy in the family, Norman attended Immaculate Conception Church and its elementary school. His father worked as a butcher in the family business, DRAPEAU's Market, located in the Flats of Holyoke. Norman even spent 1 year at La Salette Seminary, but decided that the priesthood wasn't for him. Like thousands of men from the greatest generation, Norman answered his country's call to serve.
There was no question of, if a guy enlisted or he was drafted, he just went.
DRAPEAU signed up for the Navy in 1943 at the age of 17, after which he headed for boot camp and then to Virginia and Florida for amphibious training. Norman was a seaman first class, assigned to operate an LCM, or Landing Craft Mechanized. After training, he was sent to Glasgow, Scotland to prepare for the invasion of Europe. It was while conducting training exercises in England's Dartmouth Harbor that DRAPEAU witnessed his first combat.
We got caught on the night of April 27th into the 28th by 2 squadrons of German gunboats. They killed 749 soldiers and sailors in a very short time.
After the attack, DRAPEAU said his faith played an even stronger role in the days and months ahead.
Before we left, the chaplains, they don't give you a confession one at a time. They just, there you go. You're forgiven. Yeah, and mass confession.
On the eve of D-Day, DRAPEAU was told that he may not make it back.
Before we left England, they did tell us that 50% of you will not be alive tomorrow. And they were pretty darn close.
In the early morning hours of June 6, DRAPEAU's LCM started the 120-mile trip across the English Channel.
We were supposed to be towed across the channel, but the water was too rough, and they figured the cables wouldn't hold, so they had us cross on our own.
DRAPEAU arrived at the Normandy coast and Omaha Beach, the code name for one of the 5 sectors of the Allied invasion force. In his LCM were troops from the 1st Infantry. Waiting was the heavily fortified German 352nd Infantry. From the beginning, little went as planned. Difficulties in navigation caused many of the LCMs to miss their targets, and hundreds of mines were strewn across the landing zones. When Norman opened the door, all hell broke loose.
We landed the 1st Infantry Division, which they spearheaded at Omaha Beach, and it was bad, very bad, yeah. And so for quite a few landings, and took a while before they got any place.
DRAPEAU said with the bullets and shrapnel flying, there was little time to think about the death around him.
They were shooting, killing people coming off the ramps, and so we left the troops out, and then you have to go back and get another load of troops. They were ready to evacuate Omaha Beach. It was so bad. There was 5 beachheads. Everybody had to establish those beachheads so soldiers there wouldn't get surrounded. And it took a while, but they did, Yeah, unbelievable.
Norman said, for him, the movie Saving Private Ryan is the most accurate depiction of that horrendous day. Nearly 10,000 Americans lost their lives at Omaha Beach. DRAPEAU made 12 separate assaults on Omaha Beach that first day. He received some minor injuries from shrapnel but stayed with his crew. For the next week, Norman continued ferrying troops to shore. On June 16th, he was seriously injured when his LCM struck a mine.
I got a ramp across my feet, took the big toes off and broke. It crushed the feet.
Norman was temporarily put on an LST landing ship, which served as a makeshift hospital. He was transferred to England to recuperate. Here, his hospital was struck by German V-2 rockets. Norman's parents received a telegram announcing that he was killed in action. Then several days later, another telegram saying he was just injured. DRAPEAU, who was awarded 2 Purple Hearts for the injuries he sustained, was discharged on June 15, 1945. In 1948, he married Mary Florence Zajac. They settled in Willimantic, where they had 2 sons, Gary and David. Norman worked 16 years at Hood in its shipping department. He also worked for 43 years at Pat's Supermarket in Holyoke, cutting meat before retiring at 78. While Norman considers himself lucky to have survived D-Day, the war never fully left him.
I used to get flashbacks years ago. Not as much anymore, though. No.
So it took a while to get over the
experience. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You never forget it, but something you did, and really happy that you did do it, because we did liberate France and Europe.
Do you consider yourself a hero at all?
No, not really.
When you hear that term, heroic?
Not really.
Here at Veterans Park in Holyoke is a monument dedicated to the 212 Holyoke servicemen who gave the ultimate sacrifice during the war. While these men are considered as heroes, the French government also considers as heroic the actions of all those Americans who served during D-Day. On May 14th at the Soldiers' Home, DRAPEAU received the Distinguished Legion of Honor. The Legion of Honor is France's highest award for extraordinary contributions to the country. In 2005, France said all living servicemen who participated in the D-Day invasion and who fought on French territory were eligible to receive the award. The Legion of Honor is an order of distinction first established by Napoleon Bonaparte in 1802. At the ceremony were many veterans, as well as various state and local dignitaries. The USS Constitution Honor Guard presented the colors, and the music was provided by the Michael E. Smith Middle School Band. Appointing DRAPEAU as a Chevalier of the Distinguished Legion of Honor was Fabien Fischke.
We want to say thank you to all those World War II veterans who fought for our freedoms 70 years ago. They all deserved to be thanked, to receive an expression of our gratitude, and just to let them know that we will never forget what they did for us.
Also attending was Marie Flynn of Holyoke, DRAPEAU's youngest sister, and his son Gary of West Springfield. Marie said that her humble older brother only recently started to talk about his war experience.
It was very emotional for him, and he saw many men that he knew that did not come back, and I believe it's probably because he wasn't ready.
As for the award itself,
just so proud, and happy for him because he earned it, he deserves it. He just turned 90 on May 1st, and I said, what a beautiful birthday gift for him to receive this honor.
And how does Norman feel about being awarded the Legion of Honor?
I feel very good about it, yeah. I've got it for myself, I did earn it. Any one of the guys, 10,000 in that cemetery above Omaha, every one of those deserves that medal.
While it's been over 70 years, time has not faded the memories or diminished the impact D-Day has had on the lives of thousands of veterans like DRAPEAU, who were a witness to history on that fateful day, June 6, 1944. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonic.